Sam Heughan causes a storm. I left Outlander to protect Caitriona Balfe. Sam Heughan woke up one autumn morning in his rented apartment near the studio in the Highlands, where there was often a light mist and the sound of birds was like the sound of distant water. He looked out the window and saw the pale orange light of dawn filtering through the trees. Something was wrong. Not with the sky, but with him. The weight was not in his body, but in his mind. During the recent shooting season, the Jamie and Claire scenes, the love scenes, the action scenes, the stunts, all of it piled up relentlessly. He had a sore back, swollen shoulders, and sleepless nights because his body ached all over. But what was most exhausting was the feeling that he was losing his authenticity, his connection with his co-stars, with his character, with the audience. He remembers one filming of a complicated love scene between Jamie and Claire. Caitriona, as Claire, had to act heartbroken, torn apart. It was a powerful scene, so emotional. But when the cameras stopped, the lights went out, everyone packed up, Caitriona stood there, silent. He saw her trembling slightly, her eyes red. He wanted to go over, to ask if she was okay, to share. But the assistants, the director said, "She's okay, let's go to the next set," and then withdrew. That feeling, that his co-star had suffered so much, crept up on him. Sam began to think, maybe he was dragging Caitriona into an invisible hell that he was the cause of. The evenings passed in silence. That night, Sam did not choose to go home. He sat in his small room, at his computer, looking at photos of Caitriona from the previous day's shoot. Her eyes were tired, her skin was streaked with makeup that had not been removed, her hair was tangled with wind and sweat, her lips trembled as she spoke her lines, full of tears. He remembered the director's words, "This line is very important, Claire must suffer more, the audience must feel the loss." Sam knew Claire was a strong character. Caitriona played her with all her love and resilience. But how much is too much? He thought of the days she caught a cold, the days she had to film late at night in the cold, in the rain, in the mud, and then in the morning she had to do the same thing smelling of script, damp props, and makeup. In silence, Sam wrote in a personal note, "If I give up, it will be a great loss for the audience. But if I continue like this, I will hurt her, make her tired, hurt her." The first decision, when a co-star becomes a partner. Sam called Caitriona on a lightly rainy morning. The sound of rain patted on the tin roof, the window slightly open. She was the one on the other end, and she sounded a little tired. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low. "I'm fine," she said, but he heard the hesitation, saw her pause before continuing. "It was late today, you know. The wind was strong, the cold. I had to wear layers under my dress, and then act like nothing was wrong." Sam was silent for a moment. He knew she was telling the truth. I thought a lot last night," he said. "I started to think that if I left the project, maybe you would suffer less, not be pushed into a tight schedule, not be asked to go beyond your limits. Claire would still continue, the story would still be told, but maybe with less pain." Caitriona listened to his words. She understood, because from the beginning, they had both seen each other as more than just colleagues, but as long-distance friends, people who understood the sleepless nights, people who shared the heavy burden. She had never said it out loud, but she had thought, "Am I being pushed too far?" Meeting in the director's room. A few days later, Sam and Caitriona called a meeting with the director, producer, and head writer, most of the big creative team, in a small conference room inside the studio. The room was lit with white lights, a script board on the wall, a storyboard screen, and sketches of major scenes. The director began, "We've had some pretty intense emotional and physical scenes. We want to get a close look from our two leads, Jamie and Claire, about whether these scenes are too demanding." Sam stood up, deciding to speak, not to demand less difficulty, but to share. I realized I couldn't continue if I had to do it all, extreme action scenes, extremely emotional scenes, back to back without a break. But more importantly, I realized it was affecting Caitriona. I saw her being chased by the schedule, being squeezed into scenes where she had to express pain, loss, not just in character, but in real emotion. If I stayed, I was afraid we would lose authenticity, and it would cost her more than she could bear. There were a few seconds of silence in the conference room. The head writer looked at the script, the director bowed his head. The producer hissed softly, "We can adjust, we can break the scenes down, we can have stuntmen do the more dangerous action, we can reduce the number of heavy psychological scenes that follow each other." Caitriona stood up, her voice clear and a little shaky. "I want to continue. I want Claire to be strong, the story to be completed. But if Jamie leaves, if Sam leaves, I want to be saying that we decided for a good reason. I won't pretend that everything is normal. I'll want to be smart and understand that this story once had a companion who, for personal and health reasons, decided to withdraw, and that's valid too." Stormy announcement. Rumors have spread from behind the scenes to entertainment news sites, causing a stir among the public. Could Sam Heughan leave Outlander for health and mental reasons? Caitriona Balfe says she will leave without Sam. Sam Caitriona decided to make it official. They wrote a joint statement. "We know there will be many questions. Sam Heughan is considering leaving the project if he cannot continue with the current health and mental demands. I, Caitriona Balfe, would like to confirm that if he leaves, I will also leave, because the story between Jamie Claire is a companionship, a sharing, it cannot be just one person standing still forever." The public reacted strongly. Fans were confused, divided into two factions, those who supported Sam's decision, those who were worried about the story, afraid of losing the character Jamie, because Jamie Claire are the soul of Outlander. The media began to find out whether this was a real decision or just a rumor, whether the contract allowed it, whether the producers had a plan B, a replacement, a script change, or even an early end. Internal battles and pressure from the industry, the production team, the network, the head writer, the creator, all were involved in tense negotiations. There was pressure about production costs, about filming schedules, about popularity, about ratings. If Sam quit, he would have to return the investment, he feared losing viewers, and it would be more difficult to promote. But Sam persisted in his argument, "I don't want to continue if I have to trade Caitriona, if I have to push her past her emotional limits." Caitriona also faced pressure, from her manager, from PR, from fans. "Are you sure? Will Claire still be interesting if she's alone? Fans won't want to watch if Jamie is missing." "Claire was never a character without a soul because Jamie was missing," she replied in an internal meeting. But Claire could be Claire with other stories, maybe through memories, through descendants, through people around her. But without Jamie, we wouldn't pretend that everything was the same. The night before the decision. The night before Sam decided to go public or to actually leave, he couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, looking at the dim lights of the small town at the foot of the hill, listening to the light rain outside. He remembered the first days of filming, the excitement, the audience's voices, the newness. He remembered Caitriona, the look in her eyes in their first on-screen encounter, the fire in her as Claire tried to find her way back to Jamie. But he also remembered the times she bowed her head after a difficult scene, the cup of hot water she held but her hands were shaking from the cold, her eyes red from acting out a tearful scene. He remembered what the doctor had said, if this continues, it could affect her psyche. And he wondered, was it worth continuing, for the audience, for the reputation, for the project, if the price was human loss? The next morning, he called Caitriona. "Cat, I've made up my mind. I'm leaving Outlander. I want to do the right thing for you, for Claire, for all of us." Caitriona was silent for a minute, then said, "If you leave, I will leave. Not out of fear, but because I want the story to be told with the truth, and because I don't want you to suffer alone." The aftermath and the new journey. The news was announced. Heughan was leaving the Outlander project. Caitriona Balfe would also leave without Jamie Fraser. Fans were shocked, the press was on the lookout, social media was abuzz. Some felt the project would never be the same. Some admired Sam for his courage. Some said Caitriona would lose more if she left. Some asked, how would the finale be made? The production team announced plans: rewrite the script, rewrite the ending to fit if one or both left, add a separate Claire sequel, or spin-off. They promised to keep the focus on Claire and the values they had built. Sam left. Jamie's scenes were reduced, there were flashbacks, there were scenes where Claire talked about memories, there were extras to support Jamie. Caitriona left. Claire appeared as narrator, remembrance, keeper of the past, but the scenes with Jamie were reduced. Jamie's absence was marked, not only in the script, but in the emotions.